And there I was the girl from Suits.
This one's wife. Meghan to sue Dr Chandauka for defamation? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. A number of you have contacted me to bring to my attention a video which claims that this one's wife is going to launch litigation against Dr Chandauka for defamation, and you wanted my input and observations. As I've explained before, some narcissists are notorious litigators. The reason being is, first of all, many narcissists fail to deliver on their obligations. They renege on agreements, which means they find themselves a defendant to litigation. It might be, for instance, that they fail to pay somebody, or they're not sticking to arrangements with regard to co-parenting. It might be that they are transgressing a boundary between neighbours, and therefore, as a consequence of that sense of entitlement and lack of accountability, they find themselves on the receiving end of legal action. Alternatively, the narcissist uses the law as a means to assert control over other people. They believe, often incorrectly, that somebody has offended their legal rights, and therefore they turn to the law as a means of asserting control over that person and to nullify the threat to control. Wealthy narcissists often throw their weight around in this fashion. We know that the Sussexes are no strangers to litigation. They're notorious litigious, particularly Harry. But what about this claim that this one's wife is utilising the law in order to nullify the threat to control that is posed by Dr Chandauka? Well, first of all, let's have a look at where this comes from. Several of you sent me the link to a video which states that this one's wife is set to launch a defamation case directly against Dr Chandauka. Then states, this one's wife is essentially going to sue Dr Chandauka for defamation of character. She believes what has been said is being heavy-handed, untrue, and she wants it to be addressed. It then states she is going for defamation of character. She is going to attempt to bring Dr Chandauka for a significant sum of damages to the sweet tune of at least £3.5 million, sources have alleged. Now, this is all alleged. And that's the totality of the allegations contained in this video. It's 8 minutes long, but the rest of the video is simply flannel, talking about other things such as people not getting carried away by the drama, not forgetting the good people of Centre Barley, talking about other things that this one's wife has done. All fair enough. Everybody's entitled to express an opinion. But it doesn't provide any solid details. It doesn't provide any solid details as to who says that she's going to bring this legal action. It doesn't provide any solid details as to the actual basis of the words complained of. It just simply states that this one's wife believes that what has been said was heavy-handed, untrue, and she wants it to be addressed. But there's no particularization of what specifically Dr Chandauka has actually said. Accordingly, the video makes this bold assertion that there are rumours that there's going to be litigation, that this information has been leaked. This has not been reported elsewhere. There is nothing in the media that confirms that this one's wife has said anything about issuing legal proceedings against Dr Chandauka. There is nothing about a letter before claim having been sent to her. There's nothing that has been stated in respect of even an intimation that she might do this. Accordingly, it's questionable where this information has come from, and its lack of particularization also calls into its credibility. But let's get down to some specifics, and let's actually look at what was stated by Dr Chandauka and see if it's actionable. Her first interview was with the Financial Times, and in the interview that was provided and reported by that particular newspaper, this one's wife isn't even mentioned. There's a picture of her handing a trophy to Prince Harry, but the Duchess of Sussex isn't mentioned, other than talking about the fact that Chandauka said she'd refused what she described as a request by the royals team to defend his wife, this one's wife, in the media after negative coverage of her. I said, no, we're not setting a precedent by which we become an extension of the Sussex PR machine, she said. That's it. That's the only instance where this one's wife is mentioned, and the actual mention of her isn't in respect of anything that she's apparently said or done. What she states is in relation to the royal, meaning Prince Harry's team to defend his wife. Therefore, it's directed at Prince Harry, not this one's wife. Therefore, there is nothing in the Financial Times interview that would form the basis of any kind of defamation suit, because this one's wife is not mentioned other than that small quotation I've just given you, and even then it's not saying anything about her. It's in relation to what Harry has done. The whole of the article talks about Harry's behaviours. Accordingly, that is not actionable. So, what else might this video be relying on to suggest that legal action is going to be taken against Dr Chandauka by this one's wife? Well, the other thing that Dr Chandauka has done was give an interview to Trevor Phillips on Sky News. And in that, she talks about, for instance, how when Harry moved to the United States, the donations dropped, about how Harry attempted to appoint a member to the board, essentially steamrolling it through, that people had been on the board a long time, therefore turkeys don't vote for Christmas. Talked about the difficulty of having certain conversations when Prince Harry was in the room. She talked about how the world has changed in the last 20 years, meaning the structure of the charity needed to be altered. She talked about how Harry brought a Netflix crew and that resulted in the change of venue. She talked about the behaviours towards her, which were bullying and harassment. None of that is anything to do with this one's wife. In relation to this one's wife, she said as follows. The Duchess decided to attend. This is the polo presentation last year, but told us she wasn't attending, and she brought a friend, a very famous friend. So you can imagine all of the activity that goes with the additional amazing people. We're excited about it. We could have been really excited had we known ahead of time, but we didn't. And so the choreography went badly on stage because we had too many people on stage. The international press captures this, and there was a lot of talk about the Duchess and the choreography on the stage and whether she should have been there and her treatment of me. Prince Harry asked me to issue some sort of a statement in support of the Duchess, and I said I wouldn't, not because I didn't care about the Duchess, but because I knew what would happen if I did, so number one, and number two, because we cannot be an extension of the Sussex PR machine. She's then asked a question about why she saw it as problematic, and she explained, well, the people would say the Duchess has told Dr Chandauka to make a press release about her, and then she'll get even more trolling. And so accordingly, Dr Chandauka decided, no, I'm not going to make a statement because I don't want to be an extension of the Sussex PR machine, and it'll look obvious that I've been asked to do it, so your wife will actually end up being trolled even more, which will make it worse. In effect, she was doing something to act in the best interests of this one's wife rather than be detrimental about her. And that's the totality of what she said about this one's wife. So, barely a mention of her in the Financial Times interview, and not much of a mention other than that in respect of the interview with Trevor Phillips. Now, to my mind, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't see anything really there that's actionable. Because if you want to sue somebody in England and Wales, then basically you must prove that the statement was false, that it caused serious harm to your reputation, and was communicated to a third party. Well, certainly what Sophie Chandauka has said has been communicated to a third party, because she spoke to Ian Rawlinson, she spoke to Trevor Phillips, and it was broadcast at large. Has this caused any serious harm to this one's wife's reputation? The actual words used haven't. Indeed, one might argue that her reputation is so poor that how could you damage it further? And also, of course, you have to prove that the statement was false. And all that she said in relation to this one's wife was that she decided to attend, but she'd said previously that she wasn't attending. Now, a lawyer such as Dr. Chandauka is someone who's going to be careful with regard to what she says. And beyond that, all she talks about is how her attendance affected the choreography, and this was picked up by the international press and lots of people talked about it. I don't see that there's anything false in what she said there. And in the circumstances, that means that no claim for defamation would be brought. But I decided that I would ask one of my friends, I've got a number of friends who are lawyers, and asked him to cast his eye over it to see, what do you think? Do you think if this one's wife came to you and asked for your advice about bringing a claim, his response was, I'd tell her to save her money because she wouldn't succeed. It was as simple as that. Now, it might be the case that this one's wife, through her distortion field, regards it as the possibility of taking legal action. But the video was very specific, saying that she was going to sue for £3.5 million. And if you were to do that, then presumably that would be pursuant to legal advice. And I doubt, first of all, that this one's wife has even bothered to contemplate litigation. I doubt that she's consulted lawyers. And even if she had, they are highly likely to turn round to her and said, don't do it, you'll lose. There's nothing to be actionable, and indeed, all you'll do is bring more attention onto this matter. Remember also, this one's wife doesn't give a shit about Centre Barley or Harry. She's focused on selling spread on As Ever. And I make this point once again to highlight the fact of the danger of YouTube channels and blogs, etc., putting out information which has no basis. Naturally, people speculate. That speculation may be wild, it may be dramatic, it may be baseless, but it's simple speculation. And many people enjoy thinking about what could this mean in relation to Harry and his wife, what have they been doing, what do you think might happen next? And it's clear that it's just simple speculation. And if you don't like that, you can dismiss it. But it's clear that it is speculation and you can make your own mind up. But as we have seen, there is a propensity for certain channels to pump out information as if it's a fact. Whilst they'll use it's just allegedly, they're nevertheless suggesting that this is something that's happened, that there are legitimate rumours that this is what's going on. And as you know previously, I've identified certain channels which have pumped out information about, for instance, this one's wife not being admitted to award ceremonies, being thrown out of things that she's turned up at, about Zara Phillips questioning the pregnancies, and it's utter shite. And all of this misinformation plays into the hands of this one's wife because, one, it enables her to point to information on the internet and say, that is a clear lie, and then it pollutes those that are actually exposing her poor behaviour because it makes it easier for her to then point to those who've undertaken proper investigative work and suggest, well, that's a lie as well. And for certain arbiters and decision makers to come down on the side of this one's wife because they see there's a lot of lies about her on the internet. Accordingly, it plays into her hands. And secondly, it allows her supporters to be emboldened by saying, look, there's lies, look, there's lies, look, there's lies. And therefore, when something legitimate and true is stated about this one's wife, what is their response? They just turn around and dismiss it. Individuals creating rumours which have no actual basis is detrimental to the exposure of this one's wife and Harry with regard to their poor behaviours. There are certain individuals that put a lot of hard work into their investigations in relation to the gruesome twosome. They find information and often they are queried in respect of this, and naturally they are seen as an enemy of this one's wife and Harry who want to shut down such criticism. By pumping out information that's not correct, this makes it easier for them to pour scorn on, have doubted and shut down those that have legitimate criticisms of them. And, as ever, I would emphasise the necessity for critical thinking about the information that is being received. as I've mentioned, where someone makes it clear that it's just idle speculation. For instance, where do you think she gets her jam from? And they say, I don't know, but maybe it's coming in from Mexico, maybe it's frozen raspberries that have been imported, and it's clear it's speculation. People sometimes enjoy that. They enjoy the contemplation of what's actually going on. It's just idle gossip, but it's clear that that's what it is. But as I've mentioned, there are others that state information as if it's fact. Yes, they use the allegedly, but that's just a cop-out. In actual fact, they ought to be more careful about the information that they are providing. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.